maybe.
It's only been ordered for 6 months.
Oh, yeah, good memory, man. That's right, I forgot about
I
that.
remember when we chatted about it over
You
there.
did.
Yeah.
So what time was it again?
Expedition forward, man. Mine was here for Russell. You still, I haven't heard nothing, have you?
I've got trucks that's been ordered for a year.
You ordered them before I ordered this, of course, I didn't, you were getting trucks.
Yeah. Got 4 right now, it's been ordered since, right at it, since August.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I don't know what
Ordered like desks and chairs and they've been up backwards. It's all great.
That doesn't matter, that's
No.
not that props on it.
No, it's just telling you.
Oh, yeah, I just didn't know.
Live stream.
All right, well, let's call the meeting to order and go on and, we can go on and get started and, ask Rachel to call the roll.
Rose,
Here.
Scott Street,
Here.
Jim. Paul Brandon, Arthur Jones,
Here.
Scott Fleming, Mayor Larry Dangerfield, Jordan Basham, Jeremy Rainey,
Keith Rippey is on there too, wasn't he?
yeah, I know.
All right.
Stephanie Laughlin, Wesley Sidnor,
Present.
Cole Cunninger. Here. Tom Doyle,
Here.
Hedges, Melvin Phoenix,
Here.
Morris, Cody Bramlett, Mayor Joe Robinson, Jim Hopkins, Bill Martindale, Mark Bates,
Here.
Terry Roach.
All right. We'll move on down, Justin sent the minutes out ahead of time, and, hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to look at those. Could we get a motion to approve the minutes? A motion, do we have a second? Second, Scott. So, any discussion, additions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. So, next up is Russell Neal. Russell's with the Division of Water, and, he's here today to give us a update, and, I know Russell's got another engagement, so we want to get him on board. There he is, I see him now. Hey, Russell, how are you?
Hey, how are you all doing?
Doing great.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you all for inviting me. Thank you to Justin for setting this up. Can everybody hear me okay? Can you nod your heads, give a thumbs up, something? Okay, thank you all. So for you all that don't know me, my name is Russ Neal. I work for the Kentucky Division of Water. I am the supervisor for the municipal planning section. Part of what we do in the municipal planning section is rank and prioritize drinking water and clean water SRF projects for funding. We co-administer the SRF with Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. KIA acts as the bank, and the division sets the priority of the types of projects that receive funding. As you all know, the bipartisan infrastructure law was passed late last fall, which expands on the SRFs with 7 additional cap grants. And I'm going to briefly share my screen here with a short presentation to discuss that. All right. So with the bill, there are 7 additional cap grants. There is an additional cap grant for the base drinking water SRF, the base clean water SRF, drinking water emerging contaminants, clean water emerging contaminants, and lead service line replacement. Of those 7 funds, the emerging contaminants can be receive 100% subsidy on the loan for those borrowers that qualify. We are setting those qualification standards now, working with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. With the other funds, up to 49% of those funds can be used to subsidize those types of loans. These projects will be in addition to the base programs in the next call for projects. So what we're doing now on a committee of the Drinking Water Advisory Council is we're going through and the division is receiving recommendations from partners and stakeholders as to the criteria to be used for ranking and prioritizing these new CAP grant projects. Excuse me. So as you all know, going through this process with Justin, every year there's a call for projects. KIA announces that call. They post the priority system guidance document that the Division of Water creates and updates each year. That guidance document contains the criteria and point values for the different types of projects that can be eligible for funding for the DWSRF and the CWSRF. Typically, those projects have included regionalization, any kind of new treatment plant, advanced treatment modifications to add to the treatment plant, any kind of new or replacement collection lines or water mains, tanks, pump stations, things like that. With the bill funding, the primary focus on bill is multifaceted. First off, disadvantaged communities are a big thing now. If you all haven't heard of President Biden's Justice 40 initiative, I suggest that you Google that and get to know it because that is what this administration is pushing to define and identify as communities as disadvantaged. So for moving forward for the SRFs, we are expanding on that definition to determine disadvantaged communities. That complete definition hasn't been decided between KIA and the division yet. What I can say is this. Historically, what we've done when looking at projects is we've looked at system-wide MHI under our priority system to determine disadvantaged communities. And system-wide MHI is a double-edged sword because if you're in a small disadvantaged county or large area that's disadvantaged, it's going to help you. If you're a disadvantaged area that's surrounded by a larger community that is not disadvantaged, it's going to hurt you. So for the future, the SRFs will use census tract or census block data to determine disadvantaged communities. That at the very least will be used to determine a DA community. So we can use census block data to determine disadvantaged areas within larger communities such as Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, places like that. So that's one key difference. The other key difference is where point values are placed under the new CAP grants, specifically for lead service line and components replacement, emerging contaminants, clean water, and emerging contaminants in drinking water. Under bill, lead inventories can be developed and funded. Lead service line replacements can be funded, funding both the private and public portion of the lead service line replacement. Lead components replacement can also be funded. Bill expands on the definition of a lead service line. If you look under the new lead rule, lead service line is basically just the line itself. Bill expands on that definition by saying the lead, if there's any lead components, such as a gooseneck or any connectors that are made out of lead, the SRF can pay to replace that as well. We're also looking at compliance a little bit differently under lead. Under the base programs, we would typically look at enforcement and any notices of violation that were issued to the water system under compliance. Under the lead cap grant, we're looking at trigger levels and the trigger level and the action level for lead. So if you've exceeded one of the two of those or both of those, that gives those systems a greater priority. Excuse me. Another thing that we're looking at a little bit differently under the lead program is project readiness. Typically, project readiness includes whether or not you've started your environmental, whether you've submitted plans and specs to the division, and whether you have other funding in place. Under lead, it's going to be, well, do you have planning in place do you have an approach and plan to develop your inventory? Do you have an approach and a plan to replace your lead service lines within your community? Are you strategically determining where those need to be replaced in your community? Do you have a method for notifying the public when you're going out and doing that? Things of that nature. And the reason why I don't have the point values or greater details for you for these areas right now is because it's still being cooked. It's not fully developed yet by the division and KIA. Matter of fact, I'll be logging off to this meeting here shortly and logging on to another committee meeting where we're going to be finalizing some of the lead information and then starting to talk about emerging contaminants. As far as the emerging contaminants go, drinking water based, we're looking at regionalization to take away any kind of issues with lead service, not lead service, but with emerging contaminants. Any kind of new source, new well that needs to be dug, or new intake that's placed, that can be covered. Any kind of new treatment plant that needs to be built that will treat not only just the typical treatment method, but also for emerging contaminants can be funded. Also, any modifications to advanced treatment, such as GAC, that can be added to a water treatment plant, that can also be funded. On the clean water emerging contaminant side, same thing. Any kind of new wastewater treatment plant or modifications to a wastewater treatment plant to address emerging contaminants may be funded. And also any non-point source activities may be funded. Those emerging contaminants bullets are fresh. What I mean by that is that those are going to be discussed today by the committee. And so those will be, that committee will make recommendations to the division and the cabinet on what criteria to include for funding for emerging contaminants for clean water and drinking water. Once all of the new guidance is developed, it's my hope that KIA and the division can hold a meeting with all of the Water Management Council coordinators and discuss the new guidance and how that will be input into the WRIS. In talking to Sandy, I know we want to speak for her, but updating the WRIS to accept this information is going to take some time. So what that means is that we need greater detail in the project descriptions, because the corresponding tabs where you talk about project details may not have the box to check for this information. So we need that detail at the very least in the project description. I know I threw a lot at you all at one time. If you have any questions, feel free to call or email me. Several of the systems, both water and wastewater from the KIPDA area, are on the Infrastructure Sustainability Committee of the Drinking Water Advisory Council that is discussing these issues. This is our first shot. The criteria that's developed will likely be updated for the next call for projects. The funding values that I showed you in that table are funding values for the next 5 years. And that that's going to happen. So that money is going to be available. And that's in addition to the typical money we would have available for the base DW and CW SRF programs. So just know that there's going to be a lot of new updates coming up. I would say, especially if you're a water system and you know you have lead service lines that need to be replaced, know one of the two things. One, the bill legislation requires that the entire lead service line be replaced. The bill will not fund, nor will we allow projects to be eligible for those projects that are only replacing half of the lead service line, unless the water system can show that the public portion was already replaced. So I know that some of the larger cities have been more proactive and replaced their portion of the lead service line. That's okay. But lead service line replacements that only replace the public portion and not the private portion, unless that has already been replaced, or unless the private homeowner does not want that their portion of the line to be replaced. Those projects, those types of projects are eligible. So I know I don't have a whole lot of time, but if you have any questions, I can entertain some quick questions. I know I threw a lot at you all at once. Just know that there's a lot of big changes coming down. This first pot of money is not going to be your only chance at this. There's going to be other opportunities in the upcoming years. But just be ready, especially if you need to build your inventory. The inventory development can be used from everything. It can fund anything from a paperwork research exercise to actual excavation. It goes from that far of a range. So just know that it's there as a tool to help you build the inventory, but ultimately to replace any lead service lines that are in the system. In emerging contaminants, the cabinet knows that PFOS and PFOA are very hot topics right now. Practically every water system in the state is affected by PFOS. You'll see in the, if you go back, if I can go back to the funding that's available, PFOS is not as highly funded as lead service line replacement, but PFOS is just as important. So any project to remove PFOS or abate PFOS or address it will be considered for funding through the SRF. Justin, do you have any questions for me, or does anyone have any quick questions?
Russell, could you send, would you mind to send your presentation to Justin, then he could send it out to everybody?
Sure thing. Yeah, I'll send it to him this afternoon.
Great.
Yeah, I don't have any questions for you, Russ, if anybody else from the council does, but I don't have any.
All right. Well, Russell, thank you. We're going to
Thank
move
you all.
on. I know you've got another meeting to go to as well, so thanks a
All right.
lot.
Thank you all. See you all soon.
All right. So we've got, Anne Marie's going to give us a update on our GIS.
Well, I'll just kind of introduce her first.
Okay.
I mean, so Anne Marie, Zach Herzog, as you all know, has been, he's now the director of the GIS department, and Anne Marie has taken over our contract with the KIPDA. So Anne Marie and I are going to be working with you. She's the one who's going to be coming and doing all the system visits with me every year now. So she will be the one taking over all the mapping obligations for our contract. And I didn't really have much for her to say today since this is her time. Just kind of wanted to introduce her to everyone. And if she wanted to give a little update, what she's been working on for the past couple months, you can. But I don't know that there's probably not much. It's your child, yeah.
Taking care of my newborn, but I've been back for a month now and wrapping up incorporating data updates from the system design and just mapping project updates is Justin's way. So I'd be in touch with questions.
So Zach had been doing that for a very long time, that contract. So I think we have a new, fresh set of eyes on it. So I think she, not that he didn't do a great job, but we have some new, fresh vigor in it now. So and she's coming from Division of Water as well. So she also has background in water. So this is kind of up her alley already. So Anne Marie is going to be the new point of contact for mapping, and just look forward to working with her on it.
So you want to?
So yeah, we have new, you want to do the PowerPoint? We have some new projects to approve here. We only have 5 of them this round, but
So are you gonna go through them all?
yeah, I'll go through. We only have 5. The first one is Shepherdsville. Is Ted Smith? Is Ted, are you on there? I know I told him we'll probably be ready for him around 2. I don't know if he's on there or not.
Yeah, I'm around. I'm here.
Okay, awesome. I couldn't see. So yeah, our first project, is with, Shepherdsville Sewer, and we also have Arthur Jones on today. So, Ted Smith with the U of L, Environment Institute, he was with us last time in April. And Shepherdsville Sewer, we're working on the PFAS project. So I'll just let him go ahead and give an overview of the project for council approval.
Well, great. Thanks so much for having me. So, in this emerging contaminant category, as Russ just mentioned, these PFAS chemicals are particularly tricky, and I think you all know that every assessment that's been done in the Kentucky water systems has found PFAS compounds. So it's not like a situation where we wonder if we're going to find something. It really is a situation where, my hope is that we'll have the opportunity here to quickly and cost effectively in Shepherdsville determine what baseline levels look like, which particular sort of species of PFAS compounds are present, and with some tricks that we learned with COVID, how we might identify source gradients. So, what we proposed here is quite simply a series of both influent and effluent tests over 3 months in different sort of geographically, contained portions of the sewer network in Shepherdsville, running those samples out for isotope phosphorus testing, and really establishing, like I said, what the consistent levels appear to be and whether there are gradients of contribution in the network. So a lot of the work here is on the influence side to really understand source opportunities, and then certainly if we get these data in our hands, you would be able to more intelligently determine what kind of remediation path would be appropriate at that treatment facility. So that's the project at a high level.
Thank you, Ted. Arthur, do you have anything that you'd like to contribute to that?
No, Ted's the brains on this. My job is to stay out of his way.
I hear you. Well, yeah, Ted and I have been discussing a project for quite a few months now. That's why I had him speak at our April KIPDA Regional Water Management Council meeting, and got a really good overview of PFAS. And I think this is a great project from our region to be able to dip into this emerging contaminants funding pool that is being offered this funding cycle. And I think Shepherdsville is an ideal spot to get it started after GPSing their entire stormwater infrastructure. I feel like there are some points we can definitely hit on with this, and I hope we can really capture some good data to move forward. And this kind of just sets the stage for our region with this being, having a pool of funds earmarked for this specific cause. I think it would be in our best interest if any other systems are out there willing to look at working with Ted and his team on this. It'd be a great way to get ahead of the curve and to prepare yourself for any restrictions that the EPA might be bringing regulations on down the line. So thank you for that, Ted. I appreciate that. Our second project that we need, council, we're going to go ahead and just present them all like we normally do and then get approval at the end of them. Our second project is with Milton, with Mark Bates. It's called the Milton Wastewater Treatment Plant Replacement Planning Project. And Paul Marin with Strand Associates and Mark are working together on that. This would be a planning project using Cleaner Water Program funds. And we have both Mr. Bates and Mr. Marin here. So if you guys want to give a little overview of this slide for us, whichever one of you all choose to do so. Oops. We're battling over here.
What it is our treatment plant is 40 years old. It's a steel plant. It's constructed in 1982. It's been in works there for 39 years, so we're figuring it's pretty much at the end of its life. About 15 years ago, the plant did a catwalk aeration line replacement due to corrosion. And about 4 years after that, we did a painting project on rust control and painting. thought with the, bipartisan infrastructure bill, that money could be available for the small cities to, capture some of that funding. We're all aware of that's how some of these plants got put in back in the eighties, was due to that. So, we're looking at, what do we do? Do we replace it where it's currently at? Do we send it to a regional? Some of the things about where it was put at is a floodplain. So it wasn't a great location chosen at the first site. Over the last 10 or 15 years, we have seen the flooding events expediting, getting more and more frequent to be able to access the plant. Several years we've had to access the plant by boat. The plant itself don't get inundated with water, but our chlorine contact tank in the last 12 years has been overrun with mild flooding twice, our drying beds and that. So that was one of the driving factors of trying to use some of this money. Do we relocate it? Do we rehab it? Do we send it to a regional? So that's part of what this study's about. We all know, to start a project like this, if you start today, you're 2 to 3 years into it, time you find the funding and stuff. So, we as a board and as a utility thought it was time to move forward with this project, so.
Great. Thank you, Mark. That was a really good overview.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Paul, you have anything you want to add, or I think you?
Yeah, Mark pretty much covered it.
Yeah, you summarized it pretty well. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Bates. Our next one, we're going to Shelby County. This is applicant is West Shelby Water District. Today we're going to have Eddie Brown with Kenvirons. Eddie, are you with us?
I am.
Hey, how you doing today, sir?
Doing all right.
Awesome. Yeah, this is the US 60 meter reconnects and tie-ins project that we've been working with Melvin Phoenix with West Shelby and Kenvirons on. And today Eddie's just going to give us a brief overview of it for us.
Yeah, it looks like what we put in here for is along US 60 there in West Shelby and at Simpsonville. Water line was put in the 70s. It was a 6-inch asbestos line. What we'd like to do, we've got a 12-inch line down through there now, ductile iron line, and we would like to change over the meter services and the branch water lines over to that 12-inch line and abandon the AC line that's in there now.
Pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, very necessary. And,
yes.
this is a much needed project, and we're going to actually look for funding for, I think, for the Cleaner Water program round 2 for this, which is just about to be distributed here. So yeah, that's the third project. Thank you very much for that synopsis, Mr. Brown. And moving along, we're headed out to Trimble County and another water project. This would be a water line extension project brought to you by Judge Pollock. He's very adamant about getting this one done, which I can applaud him for his efforts. Henry County Water District would be the system who would be laying the pipe. But Judge Pollock, after we helped him with the Hardy Creek water line extension to get water to some homes out there, has been very adamant about pursuing, getting everyone in his county water, which, like I said, I can definitely applaud him for his efforts. He's worked very hard at that in his tenure as a judge. So, Judge Pollock, are you with us? Driving. Not. Keith, I don't know if Keith is. I'll just go give an overview. I didn't know if Judge Pollock was going to be able to be with us or not. So this is a small water line extension. It's only going to be like, I think, 7 or 8 homes. It's on Carmen Creek Road and Loudon Lane in Trimble County, kind of near the Henry County border. Like I said, Keith Morris and Henry County Water District 2 will install the water line. It will be approximately 1,700 linear feet of 3-inch water main to the 7 or 8 residences. I forget exactly how many along Carmen Creek Road and Loudon Lane. And it's a priority for the county because it will bring potable drinking water to currently unserved residences. And then our 5th and final one is in Henry County with Newcastle. And Jody, are you with us? Jody was able to jump on. All right, okay, he's not. I'll give this one as well. This is with City of Newcastle Waterworks with Jody Bramlett, and I'm pretty sure he's working with Strand on this as well. The estimated total project cost is a little under $200,199. It's going to replace approximately 1,200 linear feet of 6-inch old cast iron and asbestos cement water line along Main Street between College Street and Ancock Street in Newcastle. So we've already worked when Scott was with Newcastle years back. We kind of already worked on this area, so this is kind of just falling through on some other problematic and old asbestos lines. A large portion of the system is between 60 to 80 years old, and the CI pipe is corroded, causing frequent line breaks. The asbestos line breaks very easily as well and causes concern to the citizens due to the asbestos content, obviously, in the pipe. The project is also going to replace inoperable gate valves throughout the span of the water main, and it's going to improve flow, pressure, and the quality of service to all Newcastle's water customers, and will save money in the long run by eliminating deteriorating and leaking water lines. Those are our 5 new projects seeking council approval today. If we can just go ahead and let...
Yeah, any questions about those anybody has? I have a question, maybe for Mr. Brown or the Newcastle project. Are they, Mr. Brown, you may know on your project, are they removing the existing asbestos line, or are they gonna abandon it in place and leave it? I'm just curious.
Good question.
What we've typically done is abandon in place.
All right, any other questions? All right, we'd entertain a motion to approve these 5 projects and enter them into the system. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Yes.
West Sidnor was a second.
So, any other questions, comments? Not, all in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've got those approved. So, Justin, you're up again.
All right, man. I drink my tea today.
Keep on moving.
So we heard from Mr. Neal, some changes. We don't have the intended use plan released yet, but that should be any day now, hopefully, knock on wood. As soon as we get that, I would advise any of you who are looking to apply for SRF funding consideration this next funding cycle to get with me and to also review the guidance document in the back. It's usually Appendix B in the IUP. Thoroughly review that. I really enjoy working with all of you, but I feel like the last couple of years with the new funding sources that we've had come down the pike here, SRF just is kind of another one that, hey, we'll just put in here just in case, kind of a backup or whatnot. And that's great, and you can do that, but just know if you're not familiar with the actual scoring criteria and the ranking process and what Division of Water is looking for and how they're going to score and rank the projects and what is in the guidance document, you're most likely not going to get invited for funding. The more familiarized you are with it, the more you work with myself, schedule a meeting with myself and Division of Water. They're very accepting of that, even more accepting than I thought they would be at times, with how busy they are and how much they have on their plate right now. But they want to see these projects get invited for funding as well, so that they'll make it time out of their day to meet with us. It's always very helpful. We don't want any points left on the table. I mean, it's a lot of work, especially come November, December for me when everybody's kind of scrambling. I would rather broach it on the front end. That's why I'm bringing this up now in July instead of October once the call for projects is already open, because it opens mid-September. We always have our meeting the second Tuesday in October, and by that point, everybody's like, oh, man, I really got to get on that. October goes by. October's always a busy month in Louisville, a lot of stuff going around the region and stuff, and then November, we got Thanksgiving, December, Christmas is coming. It's a wash. So the best bet is to get started as soon as the IUP comes out. Familiarize yourself with the guidance document. It doesn't really change a whole bunch year to year, but as Russ said in his presentation earlier, there's always little nuances. This year we have the emerging contaminants, a real big pool, and lead service line replacement, another big pool. So it may not be a priority for your system, but curtail your project to receive as many points as possible so you can anticipate hopefully getting invited for the funding. Even if it's not a project that's a priority, if it makes sense for you, if you do have, lead lines you want to be removed, if you do have an interest in testing for or mitigating PFAS and other emerging contaminants and staying ahead of the curve so you can, be ready for the regulations when they come down the pike from EPA and Division of Water, let's get started on it now. There's funding here available for it. So, and I'm ready to help you out. We've already started with Shepherdsville. So just, when that IUP comes out, I know they're always thick and fun to sift through, but, just scroll right back to Appendix B, look at the guidance document, call me, say, hey, I looked at it, I got this project in mind, how can we get as many points as possible? Time goes by fast, and time is kind of the essence on these things, and the quicker we get started, come November, we don't have to think about it, we can just sit down and eat turkey, so that's a lot easier. Having said that, that's kind of where we are with the SRF, Cleaner Water Program. I've really enjoyed working with all of you all with those projects. The conditional commitment letters, as all of you all know, came out on St. Patrick's Day, so they've been out for a few months now. We had to do all those exhibits. And now a lot of you have already gotten the assistance agreements back from those, and we're moving forward with the final exhibits, working with Ryan Lloyd, my coworker here, to make sure that we're getting help out the door to anybody who needs that, even with the systems that we're not administering these with. We're still here to help out anyway, any capacity. I know we've helped out quite a few who are not administering, so just reach out to us if you have any questions. We want to get these moving. But having said that, the second round is now about to be dispersed as well. So for any of you who have seen large funding gaps, it looks like the second round will be your safe bet to move forward with the first round project that you saw huge funding gaps. I don't foresee there not being any new projects, but, I see a lot of you all needing to use your allocated second round funds in order to fill those funding gaps. And quite frankly, we're pretty lucky that we do have the second round coming because it came at the right time. So, just work with myself. I'll be reaching out to all of you to set up regional or our county water management council meetings. I know I've already spoken with a few of you about setting those up. And we can just discuss the priorities outside of any projects that you're looking to fund from the first round that you couldn't do so with the first round funding. But yeah, having said that, there are all of the allocations, county allocations are out there. I don't know how many of you have seen that right now, but they're on KIA's website. We've emailed those out to you all, and in my email reaching out to set up the county water management council meetings, I'll include those. So we all already have a kind of an idea of what we're working with ahead of time before we meet. But I'll be reaching out tomorrow, Thursday, as soon as possible, so we can hopefully get all these projects solidified and ready to roll with as soon as possible. I did hear Ryan had a good question in one of our meetings for Sandy Williams with KIA about if we were going to have to do any of the exhibits over again, if there's no projects, or if there's any environmental or U.S. Fish and Wildlife or ship us up. That's not going to apply, thank goodness. We're just going to have to just make sure that we're requesting those funds be allocated towards that project to fill that funding gap. So we're not going to have to start from square one or anything like that. So that is good news. But yeah, I'll be reaching out. We'll get on that. That's kind of a priority right now for the next month, making sure that the rest of this month in August, we'll get all those taken care of, and we'll be ready by September.
On what you said too, at the KIA board meeting last week, they did recommend that any projects that weren't fully funded in the last round, that these funds be used to complete those projects.
Sure. Yeah, because the supplemental pool, I know they had great intentions for that, but when you're looking statewide funding for projects, it goes very fast, So, and I know when we started all this out this time last year, we had projects in mind, and it's you want to make sure you get those done first before you kind of put the cart before the horse and get carried away with another one. So, and I know those are still priorities for a lot of the judges and mayors and elected officials as well. So we want to make sure that we get those taken care of before we move on to other projects. Other than that, just a little Kentucky Water and Wastewater Operators Association information. I know part of our region is in Central. They're going to have a Central Water and Wastewater 2022 Fall Conference. This is going to be before our next meeting in October. This meeting, the conference is going to be on Tuesday, September 20th through Wednesday, September 21st. You can register on their website. Big fan of KWWOA and all that they do. So if you guys are interested in registering and being a part of that fall conference, go ahead and check that out. And then with the Kentucky Rural Water Association, they're going to have continuing education for wastewater operators at Rough River this month, July 27th and 28th. And then their annual conference and exhibition is going to be in Lexington at the Central Bank Center on Monday, August 29th through Wednesday, August 31st. That's all I got for my water.
Perfect. Any questions for Justin? All right, we'll move right along. We've got county updates. Anybody have any updates that they want to bring up? Any items or other business?
This is Todd Pollock from Trimble County. Sorry I was late logging on to the meeting. Thank you to everybody who approved those 2 projects for Trimble County. And Justin, thank you I know you worked very hard to help all of us, and thank you.
All right, no problem. Any other updates or comments? Other business? Anybody? All right.
I would like to introduce, Brian, I've already introduced you, right, in our last one, didn't I? Our last Regional Water Management Council meeting? I think so. Well, Brian is my coworker. He's working with a lot of the Cleaner Water program. So Ryan Lloyd, if you don't hear from me moving forward in the second round, you'll be hearing from Ryan Lloyd. He started with us in January. And then we also have a new hire, Dustin Duncan. He's just started yesterday. So he'll be helping out whenever, I'm sure, on a lot of other things. But if there ever is a time he's working with us with Cleaner Water or SRF, just want to make an introduction on his behalf as well.
All right. That being said, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn and a second, and everybody say, see you later. Thanks, everybody.